Good morning and welcome to the Chickasaw Annual Meeting.
I am honored that you have chosen to celebrate with us.
Yakoke, thank you for joining us on this historic occasion.
We look forward to enjoying it with you.
What a great way for our families to celebrate our unique culture.
On this special occasion, let us embrace all that makes us uniquely Chickasaw.
May today's celebrations encourage and inspire you to continue our tribal traditions.
Thank you for being here and taking an active part in the progress of the Chickasaw Nation.
Ishlaka Sayukpa, I am happy you are here.
From my family to yours, thank you for sharing this day with us.
Chugma, welcome. Thank you for coming.
I'm so pleased you've chosen to join us today.
Your attendance today is truly appreciated.
Now that you're here, we can begin.
The land that was so lush and green in the spring would sometimes be parched and brown because of drought. The searing heat and hot winds of summer could wither the most promising of crops and dry up the creeks and water holes where cattle and wildlife watered. Still, as new settlers, we learned to meet the problems and challenges of the land and prospered. Velma Taliaferro, 1855.
We, the people of the Chickasaw Nation, acknowledging with gratitude the grace and beneficence of God in permitting us to make the choice of our own form of government, do, in accordance with the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 7th Articles of the Treaty between the United States, the Choctaws, and Chickasaws, made and concluded at Washington City, June 22nd, A.D. 1855, ordain and establish this Constitution for our government within the following limits, to wit, beginning on the north bank of Red River at the mouth of Island Bayou, where it empties into Red River.
I was 13 years old when the Civil War broke out. At that time, I was living with my parents on Red River. The rebel soldiers would pass our house for days, 15 and 20 together, and stop for food. Mother would cook a whole hog in the wash pot. They would eat everything and move on. I remember one day I was sick in bed. When each soldier left the table, he came by the bed and gave me a present. I received my first china doll with other nice presents. They had obtained them in a raid they made in Arkansas and Missouri. Frances Elizabeth Kemp, 1885.
With the end of the Civil War, Cyrus Harris led us through Reconstruction, and it was a constant fight for sovereignty. We put our government back together, and a lot of smart men began to rebuild the country.
We were taught to obey, and everything moved like clockwork. The girls all worked and enjoyed it. We learned many lessons that will be with us always. The one above all was to love our neighbor, and from the spirit I see here today, I feel that has been the motto of Bloomfield. Mrs. Meade, student of Bloomfield.
Education is the lever by which our people are to be raised to a mental level with our surroundings. Governor Benjamin Crooks Birney, 1879.
Bands of lawless persons traversing the country have been a source of much trouble and annoyance to the peaceable inhabitants of the nation. We may judge from the present what we may expect in the future. Cyrus Harris, 1872.
I see commercial bodies have sent out circular letters to various influential businessmen inviting them to a conference, the aim of which is to liquidate the Indian title to a territorial domain and throw the country open. This would be an injustice to us and open floodgates that would swamp our people. William Guy, 1888.
There is a great question being agitated throughout the United States, upon which depends the very existence of the 5 civilized tribes. This question is allotment and statehood, and it should be strenuously opposed by each of the 5 tribes, to the end that we may retain our tribal forms of government and the holding of our lands in common as it is today. Jonas Wolff, 1894.
It is generally understood that our country is pretty well underway to allotment. Homer Mosley, 1901.
For enrollment for Ivan Reed as a citizen by blood of the Chickasaw Nation. What is your name? Frank Reed.
Wherever we go or from whatever source we hear, it is Governor Johnston. You have done so much for your people that they naturally turn to you in the closing struggles of the nation as their only source to terminate tribal affairs to the very best advantage of each and every Indian concerned. E.B. Henshaw, 1904.
I got a whipping for speaking Chickasaw the first year I went to school. I had never been anywhere where English was spoken, and I just couldn't get it all down when I started to school. Adeline Brown, 1910.
October 9th, 1931. Dear Gov, I have called for a convention for the Chickasaws to convene at Sealy Chapel the 27th of this month. There are quite a number of young Chickasaws, and I wanted them to get interested in the work so as to keep up with our tribal affairs. Commissioner Collier said in his speech in Muskogee that the government owed the Indians millions of dollars. April 23rd, I am your friend, J.J. Humes.
Well, we were brought up in traditional Indian fashion, and I guess that church really was the center of our lives, and perhaps the factor most instrumental in keeping our language and our culture alive. Mrs. Vinnie Humes.
There's always sacrifices in anything that you do that's worthwhile. Fortunately, we had good men who made that sacrifice, whether it be time away from their family or time away from their work to attend these meetings, to give of themselves. I know the families of those men that helped lay the foundation are very proud of them.
My dad and them just talking in Indian, and they used to just say, we're going to an Indian meeting. I think if they didn't have those meetings and did something about it, I don't think we would even have the things that we have today.
Well, that Saturday morning, I remember when we got there at Sealy Chapel, we went over to where my grandfather was talking with some other people. And he told us that this was a good day for our people and that things were going to be better for our people, their lives and their lifestyle. It was just a change that was coming.
Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear.
There was excitement in the air. You could smell the aroma of the food being cooked, just the excitability of something new that was going to happen.
And it was a beautiful day. It was in the fall. This was the first event, major event that the people were getting really involved with. But I remember coming to the Pontotoc County Courthouse that afternoon to mark my ballot to select our governor for the coming years.
In order to prosper as a tribe, we knew that we'd have to strengthen our economy. So, in 1972, we took on our first business. It was the beginning of Chickasaw self-sufficiency.
We needed to have a government that had elected officials that were representative of the people of that period. After the Constitution was ratified, we were able to have elections and have 3 branches of government. I think it was truly of the people.
We elected Bill Anoatubby as a lieutenant governor, and then later we elected him as our governor, and he upheld our sovereignty as a Chickasaw nation and fought for the well-being of our Indian people.
I remember sitting in the chair as a little girl listening to the leaders and watching the first crownings of the Chickasaw princes, and I realized there was something different. I wasn't just like everyone else. I was a Chickasaw. If my ancestors could see the Chickasaw Nation now, they would be amazed at the growth and the progress that's been made. Many of my ancestors didn't have running water, they didn't have transportation, and they certainly didn't have health care. And for them to see their children and grandchildren now with education and receiving health care and the moves that we've made to this day, they would be really proud and amazed at everything that we've accomplished. It always makes me proud whenever I see the Chickasaw name, and I hope that others feel the same way.
In 1972, there were only 6 other employees besides myself. I went to work as a community health representative.
I remember as a little boy growing up, or as a young man growing up, that health care and dental care for Chickasaw citizens was probably non-existent. There was none.
People didn't know what diabetes was. They didn't know too much about health care.
Healthcare was a new beginning for many of our tribal members due to the accessibility of healthcare locally.
At that time, we only had 1 clinic, and it was located in Tishomingo. If anyone needed hospitalization or further care, they had to go to Tallahena or to Lawton.
From that first clinic in Tishomingo, the Chickasaw Nation healthcare has grown exponentially to include 4 additional clinics located in Ardmore, Purcell, Ada, and 1 jointly operated with the Choctaw Nation in Durant. The tribe serves its citizens with the state-of-the-art Diabetes Center and the Carl Albert Indian Health Facility in Ada. The Chickasaw Nation is also focused on wellness and prevention through services provided at its 3 nutrition centers and food distribution stores, located in Ada, Ardmore, and Purcell, as well as wellness centers located in Ardmore and Ada.
It was kind of a tough go. We were 100% dependent on the federal government. Every dollar we got came from the government. So therefore they were in a position to tell us what we could have, when we could have it, and how much of it we could have. So it was quite a struggle just to provide the basic needs of the people.
For the next 20 years, Chickasaw citizens would endure long waiting lists and limited funding to realize the dream of renting or owning a comfortable home. In 1996, everything changed. The Housing and Self-Determination Act gave us the ability to establish the programs and services uniquely designed to meet the needs of Chickasaw people. We went to work developing programs that would enhance the overall quality of life of Chickasaw people. Today, citizens may access a number of services, including rental and financing options, landscaping programs, home counseling, storm shelters and home improvement, and home repair loans and grants.
For the past 3 years, we talked about buying a home, but I was just scared of the whole process that we never attempted to apply. But when we did, it was a wonderful experience. It probably took 6 weeks and we were already in our new home.
When Youth Services was first established, there was a real limited amount of funding. We had an annual youth retreat held down at the Motor Inn in Sulphur, and we had some meetings with some youth councils that we established, but that pretty much was it in the early days.
The first youth council was elected from Chickasaw youth who attended the fall retreat, and that was the first time that I was really exposed to all the language and cultural programs, and that's really where a lot of the programs for Chickasaw Nation youth began.
Today, the Division of Youth and Family Services operates 4 youth councils, 12 youth camps serving over 1,000 youth each year, a martial arts program with 1,200 participants each month, and 3 Boys and Girls Clubs, providing a safe place for 1,000 youth to meet and play each month. The division also has many programs designed to help families get closer and stronger together.
Chickasaw elders have always gathered together in churches and at Chickasaw meetings. The Chickasaw Nation Senior Services officially began when the tribe received a small grant under a Title VI government program almost 26 years ago. The first senior nutrition centers were located in borrowed spaces of various buildings around the Chickasaw Nation, before finally having buildings to call their own.
When I first started, we had 5 nutrition sites. Now we have 10. We're building our 11th site. I remember going in, delivering a homebound meal to one of our elders, and the CHR, the community health representative, was doing laundry and also doing the dishes for them. So now what's developed from those services is a whole program, which is the chore service that we have within the Division on Aging.
For many decades, if a Chickasaw student wanted a higher education or vocational trade, he or she had very little resources available. Only a small amount of federal funds were available, leaving many to miss the chance to further their education.
Many young adults don't choose to go to college, but the ones that do have a great resource to pull from in the Chickasaw Nation because of the programs and services they've offered me, as well as other Chickasaw students that I have come in contact with.
And through the years, I've seen the number of scholarships increase, as well as the amount of funding assistance that's available to students. And there are also internships, as well as employment opportunities that are available for students of all ages.
Today, the Chickasaw Nation Division of Education offers many different scholarships and services for students, ranging from laptop computers and clothing grants to assistance with graduation and certification fees.
It's such a wonderful feeling to know that we can educate our young people, we can take care of our elders, we can do whatever we need to do to help our Chickasaw people. And I think if you care about what you're doing and you know you have the responsibility to do it, then you will continue to do whatever you can to make it better. And I think I've watched that happen over the years.